Hello vinyl lovers. I'm going to make a video here, something a little bit different. Yesterday a record came in that completes a collection I've been trying to get together for quite a while, of a label, a record label in New Zealand. I have a few record labels that I really get into and try and buy most of what they can put out, what they put out on vinyl. Albums only. I generally don't bother with the 7 inches. So there's a bunch of little labels that I'm collecting, and this is the earliest of those labels, I believe. Apart from Flying Nun, but I'm never going to get all the Flying Nun. That's a big label. That's got a lot of stuff. The label is Braille Records. Back in Wellington in 1984, some musicians got together and they formed a bit of a collective, and they were doing improvisation, jazz, improvised shows and get-togethers, and anyway, eventually they called themselves the Braille Collective, and they released their own records, private press, pretty much, or their own record label, so to speak. And it's a quirky kind of improvised, free jazzy sort of, and it's quite uniquely New Zealand. I'm playing the first record back in the background. So from 1984 to 1991, they released 10 vinyl LPs. And that was their discography up to that point, apart from, I believe, one 7-inch single. The label is still kind of active today. The last release that I can see on Discogs was from 2015. So they have been slowly putting out things. But after the last vinyl release from 91, they went CD. And pretty much, I think all the releases that I know of and that are on Discogs are CD releases. I don't have any of those, to be honest, and I've just been chasing out the vinyl. Quirky, freeform jazz obviously wouldn't have sold a lot of records back then, and probably doesn't still now even, and so these can be fairly rare. I've had to pay close to 3 figures for some of these records. Some of them turn up a little bit more often. I don't know what their pressings were. Could be 3 to 500 pressings maybe done at the time. This was, well, when they first started out releasing, obviously the pressings were done in New Zealand, but later pressings probably would have been done overseas after 1988, due to our pressing plants closing. Anyway, let's show you the record. So the first up, this is Braille number 1, Primitive Art Group, 5-tread drop down. This is a double album. There are 5 players on this, so these are the guys who pretty much started it all up. So we've got David Donaldson and Anthony Donaldson. I believe they are brothers. They are on bass and drums and various other instruments. And then Neil Duncan, David Watson, and Stuart Porter were the other 3 members who are on. David's on guitars, and Neil and Stuart are on brass. So it's a gatefold. This may have been actually the very first one of the series that I picked up. Pretty sure I got this one from Penny Lane. So yeah, this is fairly well improvised. I don't know if you can hear it. I've got it playing in the background, but it's quite quiet. It's a tough listen, but there's some really interesting stuff, and the recordings are really good. They're really, really good recordings. I mean, they did a really good job of them. I think they were actually recorded in studios, or one track was a live track. Yeah, Marmalade Studios in Wellington and Gisborne, capture recording studio, supported by the Queen's Elizabeth II Arts Council. Yeah, and distributed by Braille Records. The second release, and I think this is another one I did manage to pick up in Penny Lane Records, is The Black Sheep. It's just a self-titled, Braille number 2, recorded in 84, April and February 85, released in 85. This is David and Anthony Donaldson with Stuart Porter. So 3 of the members of the art group, previous art group. The Braille has their own little purple and silver black writing label in the middle, which is pretty much what they stuck with right through this series. So yeah, 3 pieces. This is pretty much along the similar lines as the last release. That's a pretty good one. I enjoy these. They are a tough listen, but I've been actually just played through them all last night. The third album and Braille number 3, and there's a little Braille symbol and on the bottom there, is back to the Primitive Art Group. This was the last release from the Primitive Art Group, so back to the 5 players on the original LP. This is just a single LP released in 1985. I like this one better than the first LP. There's a little bit more cohesion on this one and some pretty cool playing. This one has a insert there which is listing the 3 current releases and the next one that is to be it actually talks about the other releases that are up and coming. So that's pretty cool. Most of these, I don't know whether all of these had inserts when they were released, but not many of them do have. But after 40 years, that's to be expected. The next one is this one here, Jungle Suit, A Walk of the Snipe. Now, this is another trio. Now, this one here is the addition of Janet Roddick, who turns up, and she's on a fair chunk of the rest of the releases, and she's the vocalist, and a couple other little instruments. So this LP, it's pretty cool. She's impressive. She's very impressive with her vocals. Now, she doesn't actually... No, there are a couple of tracks on here where she sings in a foreign language, I believe. But most of the tracks, she's just vocalizing, like, so jazz, kind of like a weird jazz scat sort of thing. Yeah, it's pretty... This is pretty bizarre, this record, actually. So, yeah, that's really cool. I can't remember where I actually picked that one up from. That may have been a Trade Me purchase or a... Yeah, I've had it for a wee while. 4 Volts. This is the first appearance of the Vault-related records. 4 Volts. So 3 of the members from the art group and Janet. Now this is a lot more conventional sort of song structure stuff. There are actually some cover versions on here. The Star Trek theme, Stormy Weather, Light My Fire, plus some originals. So yeah, this is pretty kind of quirky sort of thing. So this is number 5. This is Braille number 5 from 1986. So recorded in concert in 19th and 20th of February 86. The 4 Volts, the Vault records, and there'll be some more I'll show soon. They are probably the most conventional type out of the lot. This one here I picked up on my trip to Wellington several years ago from Real Rough Peel Records, wasn't it? I'd been in the shop, had a look around. I had a limited budget, and I had been in the shop and couldn't really find much. And it wasn't until I was actually leaving and I saw this up on the wall, and I thought, oh shit, I need to grab that. So this is Braille number 6. Stuart Porter, Anthony Donald, and a new name, Jared Crudson, on trumpet, trombone, and tuba. So, to be honest, this is probably the one that I like the least out of the really kind of improvised jazzy ones. I've only played it, so I've had it for a few years. I've only played it 2 or 3 times, but it's got a cool cover. I like the cover. So yeah, I'm not sure on that one. It's yeah. So anyway, that's number 6, and number 7 is quite an elusive one, and I had paid a reasonable one. I picked this up last year in Dunedin, so I was really rapt to find it because I didn't think I was going to find it for a long time. The Rabbit Lock. This is actually the biggest ensemble of all the records, I believe. There are 7 people involved. So we have David Donaldson, David Long, Anthony Donaldson, Neil Duncan, and Stuart Porter. So we had the 5 originals from the art group, and then Janet Roddick is also on here, and then another man called Malcolm Reed. I believe this must be his first appearance. He appears to be on drums on all of these. Yes, he is. So what is Anthony playing? Anthony's actually only appearing on one of the tracks. Anyway, so this is actually quite a hard one to find. It's a really good one. It is very strong. It is fairly cohesive record too. But towards more song structured sort of things, but still pretty improvised and stuff. So I really like that one. That is a really good one. And then the one that arrived yesterday, which actually completes my set, is this one. Excuse the big felt pen on the face of it. This is probably the hardest one, I believe, to find. This is actually a solo record by David Watson, who I've mentioned on all those other ones. This one here goes all over the show. This is really quite a bizarre record, actually. There's some drones, there's some nice guitar pieces, there's some all sorts of weird sort of shit going on. Chris Walker, who introduced me to these records originally, said this is his favourite of the series. This still has an original insert in it. It's not the best condition, but it plays alright, apart from a couple of clicks. There's a list of all the Braille record releases on this as well. Yeah, this is pretty cool. And it's probably the most different record out of all of them. Not so much jazzy, this one. It's, I say there's a bit of drone on it. There's some sort of almost guitar solo type piece on the second track, and another similar one on the other side. I'll get to that later. And then 2 to go. The last 2 are Volts records, the 6 volts. So the 4 volts had expanded to 6 volts. Where are the list of players? So all of the usual crew are here. Anthony Donaldson, David Long, Janet on vocals, Neil Duncan, and then Steve. Now, I don't know who Steve is. Oh, there's also some... Oh, yes, no, Steve. Yep, Steve Roach. Okay, there he is. So this album came out in 1989. I mentioned the 4 volts one was a mix of cover versions and originals. This is the same, mostly cover versions. There is a cover version of Ellington's Caravan, Zeppelin's Black Dog, and a few other, Honey Don't by Perkins. So yes, most of side 2's covers. So pretty bizarre record, actually. Those cover versions, you won't hear anything quite like that. And then finally, the very last one that they released on vinyl, 6 volts Stretch. This album here was actually, again, it's a mix of cover versions and originals. More originals than covers. There's Angie, Babe, Anita, Eleanor Day, Count Basie, is it? No? Oh, no, sorry, thanks. Okay. Anyway, this is the most accessible record of the catalogue. This was actually picked up and distributed by Festival Records here in Australia, I believe. So this had much more widespread distribution, and I do remember seeing this record around a lot in the shops back in the day. So it's got a different catalogue number and different label and all that sort of stuff. So that is the Braille Records collective pretty much in their entirety as far as the vinyl releases, apart from a 7-inch single, I believe, which was lifted off one of the 4 volts records. A lot of the players there are still active today. Unfortunately, Neil Duncan passed away a couple of years, about 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, they're all well active today. And I think my record's just finished, so I'll just lift the needle off the turntable. Oh no, I'll tell you why. Sorry. Keep catching me out, these records. They have really big gaps between songs. So, yeah, doing a little bit of research on most of the players, and all of them were active. A lot of them continued releasing stuff on CD on Braille, under various band names and monikers, and with combinations of other players. I haven't heard a lot of that sort of stuff, and it's pretty hard to find. Braille Records don't come up on YouTube at all. I can't find them on YouTube, and they got nothing. None of these guys I can find at all on Spotify. So yeah, they're pretty obscure and hard to find. So David Watson went overseas, and he got quite involved in the New York scene, and I believe he played with people like John Zorn and quite a lot of other names in the scene over in New York, and I believe he's probably still over there now. In 2018 odd, he released this record. So some of these guys, they don't have a lot on vinyl, but there is some that I don't have. David Watson, Tony Buck, they released this on Braille Records, in 2018. This is Ask the Axes. This is the second release on Braille Records. This is a drone record, yeah. So David got right into the bagpipes, and he's using them to full effect on here. This is pretty cool. It's a really cool drone record, really like it. And Tony's doing percussion and drums, etc. So I don't have a lot of records by the guys outside of the band, but I'll show you what I have got. So David Long went on to become quite high profile, I believe, because he was a member of the Muttonbirds. So I'm not too sure for how long he was in the Muttonbirds. The Muttonbirds have nothing out on vinyl. Everything is on CD. They were just in that time period, and they were a fantastic band. They're absolutely fantastic. They really need to be reissued. Anyway, this turned up on Braille Records, Ash and Bone by David Long. This is a fantastic record. There's a lot of players on here. And this is kind of like an ECM. Well, Braille Records is like New Zealand's ECM, and this is kind of like jazz, world music, classical music. There's a real mix of stuff. Ricky Gooch is on here. He's quite a high profile guy in New Zealand music, and he's right into the improvised and jazz scene at the moment. He used to be in like a sort of a dub reggae type band. So yeah, this is quite a big ensemble here. Don't really know most of the other names, but came out on Rattle. Rattle is actually another label, a New Zealand label that I've collected quite a bit of music from. I do have, surprisingly enough, all of their vinyl releases, but that's only 3. So this was out in the third one to come out on vinyl, but I do have a lot of their CDs. Unfortunately, they are quite prolific, and so I am way behind, and I do not have a lot of them. So the Devil's Gate outfit. So the state of New Zealand jazz and Wellington jazz, as far as like the collective, that similar to the collective of the Braille collective back from in the 90s and 80s and 90s. This is actually Kiwi Jazz, which is KIWIJAHZZ. And they're quite they've got a site on Bandcamp, but they put out some CDs. They've got quite a lot of digital releases. So there must be quite a scene of them. And it's actually Steve Roach is involved in this, and David Donaldson and Anthony Donaldson. So 3 of the guys who were involved with the original Braille are on this, and this is called the Devil's Gate outfit. And this is the Jazz from the Underground Nightclubs of Aotearoa Volume 5. This is the first one that's come out on vinyl, and this if you know the Braille sound, you'll really enjoy this. They are all original songs, and there is a Neil Duncan track on here as well. Yeah, so this is not long out. I can't tell you when it came out. Was it last year? 2020. Oh, it was recorded in 21. It must have come out in 22, I believe. So yeah, I picked that up. took a wee while for me to get my hands on it actually. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then finally, also on the Kiwi Jazz imprint. So actually, there's another label where I have all of their vinyl releases because there's only 2 of them. So yeah, is Neil Duncan's final recordings, Phantom Tones. He is supported on this by the Devil's Gate outfit. He lost his arm back in 2012. He got quite sick. He managed to get through that, and then unfortunately he passed away in 2021. So all of these compositions are by Neil Duncan, except a couple. Steve Roach is on here, and Finney Donaldson, of course, David Donaldson. So yeah, most of the guys from the Devil's Gate outfit. This is a really, really good record. I'm very impressed. So this was recorded in 2020. So that's all of the records I have that are associated with the original Braille artists. It's a shame that this Kiwi Jazz isn't putting out a bit more vinyl because they got a pretty good catalogue of stuff. I don't know where they play. It must be around Wellington mainly. Jeff Henderson's quite a bit involved with this outfit. I mean, he's not on this record, but he's quite involved with the label as well, and he's also on the Audio Foundation. So, yeah, so that's Braille Records and offshoots, so to speak. Like I say, there are a few other vinyl related issues from some of these artists that I don't have, or they're overseas releases, they're combination collaboration releases, whatever. But there's quite a lot of CDs of music of this from these people on the Discogs. So, and like I say, Braille is kind of still semi-active, although not for the last sort of 9 years. But anyway, that's my record label profile for that, and I'll be doing a few more profiles because I've got about half a dozen other labels that I really enjoy collecting, and I've got most, if not all, of their catalogue. All right, see you next time.